This is the Digital Foto Titan cart, and I'm going to take you through some of its specs and features, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about how I found it over the past couple of weeks testing it out, and how I think it's going to help improve the shoots that you go on. Starting off, I've got it fully set up at the moment, but you can actually pack this all down into a large sort of suitcase size package, and when you do that, there are an extra couple of wheels which go on the end, and they allow you to wheel it around like a big suitcase effectively. Now in that format you're able to get into the back of even smaller cars, and it obviously means that you don't have to have it fully built when you're traveling to a shoot, and then you can build it when you get there. Setting it up is very straightforward. In the first instance, when you get it delivered to you, you're going to need to put a few more things together, but once you've done that initial setup, it's very easy to take it out on shoots, packed down, and then assemble it when you get to location, wheel everything around, get all of the features and functionality out of it, and then pack it back down, put it in your car, and not have to take up too much space. Now actually I have opted most of the time, because I'm fortunate enough to have a larger vehicle, to get a couple of ramps and wheel it into the back. Now if you can do that, it means that you just save a little bit of time, and you can also have the cart already loaded up with some equipment. And speaking of loading up the cart, this actually is capable of carrying 300 kilograms of equipment, and that's a substantial amount of cameras, lighting, sandbags. It means that you're having to do fewer trips, and it also means that you're having to carry less, so it's less wear and tear on your own body, and you arrive at the shoot a little bit fresher. In terms of the kind of shoots that I've been taking this out on, they have been quite varied. So sometimes I'm taking it out because I want to have a mobile station where I can build cameras. Sometimes I'm taking it out and I want to be able to set up like a little DIT station, have a laptop on here, offload cards, that kind of thing. And sometimes I've got it set up as a monitor station. So the way that you use your cart is going to very much depend on the kind of shoot that you're doing, and also what you want to get out of it. And personally, I think that although when people imagine a cart, they're thinking about how it can help them move equipment around and loading it up with as much as possible and then wheeling it along, and this can do that. I think that's not the most efficient way of using your cart. If you can load up with just the equipment that you need and then keep the top relatively clear, it means that you don't have to unload everything, and you can keep the cart more as a mobile station, and you can also reach underneath and get whatever you need without having to take a load of stuff off. Now that probably does mean that the way that you use the cart is actually a little bit different from the way that you were thinking you were going to use it, just for lugging things around. And if you are doing shoots where you're having to travel a long way, by all means, take the cart, load it right up. But I think that what I've found from using this is I prefer to keep it a little bit more pared down. If I can get another cart on a shoot as well, it means I can have one which is dealing with lighting and grip, and another which is just dealing with camera. And if this is just dealing with camera, I can have a monitor on here, I can have my camera on here, I can have all of my lenses and stuff underneath, and I can have a tripod maybe with an accessory hook on the side. And that means that I'm able to move from location to location on a shoot without having to unload and reload the cart and pack away cameras and all of that kind of stuff. So it does make it a little bit more efficient if you can afford the space to do that. Now, apart from its carrying capacity, this cart has a couple of other standout features. Namely, it has a drop shelf just here, which I'm going to flip down. When you drop that side down, it just makes everything a little bit more comfortable. So if you are sitting at the cart and working at the cart with a computer, or sitting there and working on a camera, then that just makes it a little bit more like a tabletop, and you're not having to reach over the side. Also, if you are getting cameras on and off and you're dealing with big camera packages, not having to lift it up and over, and you can just kind of slide it off the side, is pleasant as well. You know, it just means that it's a little bit easier to load things on and off it. And while we're on the subject of the sides of the cart, if you look at the front, there are cheese plates across that edge just there, and also on the lower shelf as well, and those are furnished with a selection of 1/4-20 and 3/8 threads with locking pins as well. So if you do want to add anything onto the cart, like a transmitter or a monitor, or if you just want somewhere to store your little friction arms, you can screw those into there and it will work absolutely perfectly. And having all of those built in and having the option of where you're going to put them is really good. Now they do make a selection of other accessories that you can get to go with this cart, which could fit into that as well. So you've got things like hooks where you can put them on the side and then you can load in light stands on those. Just makes carrying things a little bit easier and unloading them a little bit easier as well, because they don't all have to go underneath or on top of the cart. They can actually just hook in on the side. The fit and finish of all of the different parts that I'm talking about is executed to an incredibly high standard. Everything is nice and solid, and we have lots of attention to detail. Like the corners are these composite bumpers, so they're not quite as sharp and they're not quite as hard when it comes to moving it around. That is actually relevant because the corners are going to take a little bit of a bumping when you move it around. It's just bound to happen if you're moving through locations. You try to be careful, you don't want to scratch up the location, but inevitably something's going to knock into these. And it might be you, it might be a bit of equipment, it might be a wall, or it might be on the ground when you're wheeling the cart around in its folded up format. Having the composite bumpers on the side means it's going to be able to take a couple of knocks, not damage stuff too much, and not get damaged itself. If those were metal, then they would dent and the paint would scratch off. That's a nice little attention to detail that I have personally appreciated living in the UK, where doorways are a little bit smaller. Anyone in the US is not going to be able to relate to this at all, I feel, but in the UK, I can't get a standard doorway dolly through a lot of doorways. You know, it's like everything is just made a little bit smaller. So having the bumpers on there means that I'm not wrecking doorways as I go through them. The maneuverability of the cart is really good. You've got those 4 main wheels, 2 of which will spin, and the 2 that do spin are the ones that have the brakes on as well. It's really quick to take those on and off. They've got a large sort of dovetail mount and they just slide on and then lock in place, and they're nice and solid. The 4 main support posts have markings on to help you gauge height, and that is very useful when you are positioning the little accessory bars that come on either side, which also have a selection of threaded holes as well. And those accessory bars are not just useful for mounting things in, but they're also useful if you want to put, say, a light stand or a C-stand across the center of the cart just there. You can do that and you can keep it off the bottom level, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to things and to unload things without having to take everything off the cart. I keep coming back to this, but I do see people with carts stacked up really high, and you just think you're going to have to tip everything off when you get to location. It's much nicer if you can work out a way of using your cart where you don't have to take everything off and you can just get what you need off it when you need it, but otherwise leave it in place. Currently on the right hand side at the end just here, I have the handle, which helps you to push it along and lift it over little bumps, that kind of thing. When you're loading it in and out of locations, it's really handy. That has a similar quick release method to the shelves just here. So you just pop those little blue anodized handles down, then you can just lift it out. It's got those snug dovetail joints, and you can mount it on either side. So if you want to be pushing from this side, you can, but I have it pushing from this side because that is the side that currently I have the spinning wheels on. Now I like to drive the cart with the spinning wheels at the back, which is a little bit weird because you kind of have to steer in the opposite direction a bit to the way that you think you would, but I find that is a better way of maneuvering around locations, and as you get to grips with the car, you will come up with your preference as well. Also worth mentioning, the tyres are pneumatic, which means they are inflated tyres. So when you get this, you will probably need to put some air in them because they won't come fully pressurized. If you don't put more air in them, and if you've ever cycled a bike, for example, or driven a car with a flat tire, you're going to have a hard time moving this around. It's going to feel a bit sluggish and unresponsive and like it's really hard to push. So it is important to pump those up just with a standard bike pump or the kind of inflator that you'd use to inflate your car tires. Obviously don't blow them up too much. They have a rating on the side, I believe, of 30 psi, so that is what I've pumped mine up to, and now it is really easy to move this cart around even when it's got a heavier load on. Very responsive, and it doesn't get bogged down. On the top shelf and the bottom shelf, you get a neoprene mat, which is a perfect fit for both of those, with cutouts on the bottom for the legs, obviously. This is nice because it means that when you place things on top, they don't clatter around. It's a little bit padded and soft, and that means that when you place your camera down, if you put lenses down, they're not going metal on metal. It's just a much, much nicer feel. It protects the cart and it protects your equipment as well. A lot of the carts I've used in the past have had a kind of thick carpet tile style mat on top, which is often glued or fixed onto the top of the cart. Having this as a neoprene mat means that if it gets dirty, you can just shake it off and then place it back on, and you don't have to get the Hoover out and that kind of thing. It's just much easier if you're in a messy location, say you're on a beach and there's sand everywhere. Before you put it away, you can just take that off, give it a shake, and all of the dirt and debris will come off. It's nice that they're doing that. At first, I thought it was actually a downside having it removable, but now I'm using it on a few shoots and obviously preparing it for the video, I'm noticing bits of dirt and stuff, and I'm trying to make all the shots nice. I can just take it off, give it a bit of a shake, and everything's fresh and clean. To give you an example of a shoot that I've used this cart on, I am DOP for a cooking show. A lot of the time I don't take the cart because we're going to people's homes, space is at a premium, and it's not practical for a lot of houses in the UK to take this in. However, I did know that for a couple of episodes we were going to be visiting people who were in flats, in apartments. When I found out that this was going to be in apartments, I asked a couple of questions. Are we going to have access to a lift? Is the lift big enough to get this cart into? Those kind of things. I was thrilled when the answer was yes, because anyone who's been to London knows that parking is really tricky, and we weren't able to actually pull up next to the flat at all. So we were able to get all of the equipment we needed for the shoot loaded onto the cart, and then just take it in, go up in the lift, wheel it into the apartment, and then unload. And then actually, as a bonus, and this is really nice, I had it set up for my director on that shoot with a couple of iPads, and I was able to use it like, you know, a little video village for her. Really, really nice to have, and she appreciated it. Often we kind of just stick her in the corner and sort of put the iPads on a couple of chairs or something, but having the cart, it's so much nicer. So being able to keep that video village set up and just wheel it around for her was absolutely superb. I want it on every single shoot, but practicalities mean that I can't take it on every shoot. Carts are one of those things, until you actually use them, you maybe can't see how much it's going to improve your workflow. I know the first time I put wheels on any piece of equipment, it just blew my mind as to why I'd never ever done it before. It is an investment. Carts are always one of those pieces of equipment that aren't perhaps as exciting and glossy as a new camera or a new lens or a new light or a new gimbal. But if you invest in a good piece of equipment like this, it's one of those things that's just going to stay with you through your whole career. And you're going to find that it works its way onto almost every shoot in some capacity. Now, being without a cart for a little while and then coming back to using this, I can attest to how much I missed it and how much I've actually enjoyed just being able to wheel stuff around. And I plan to continue using this on shoots and also deck it out with a few more accessories to make it a little bit more functional on those shoots where I do need to carry more light stands, for example. So this has been my overview of the Digital Foto Titan cart. It is a thoroughly bomb-proof piece of equipment, and I do recommend checking them out. If you've got any questions, drop them down below and I will happily hop into the comments and answer any of those queries. Thanks for watching.